Okay, so hi everyone, I'm Ashley.
I'm Daniela.
I'm Cassidy.
And then on our team, we also have Axel who's in here if he wants to introduce himself.
Maybe he's not.
I'll say if he's there. So we also have Axel who's a senior in the major, and then we have a nursing student, Denise, if she's here too. I don't know if she is. But yeah, so that's our team. So a little bit about the site. So it's Carney Academy. It's located in New Bedford, Mass. And then on the left-hand picture is a little red box that you can see where it's just showcasing exactly where we're adding a new addition to the school for the Century Wing. And then on the right-hand side is a north face picture of the exterior, exactly what's existing, where the new addition would be located. And it's a 50 by 50 square foot space. And then next.
So for research, along with everybody else, we had historical, interactive, and observational. The historical involved reading a lot of studies, a lot of textbook chapters. One was designing for autism spectrum disorders, and we had a lot of our research on the different senses that are affected by ASD and how to design for them with interior architecture. And of course, we read lots of studies, and we consulted nurses for their prior experience. I know we had one nurse that has worked with ASD kids before, and so she had a lot of information, valuable knowledge to share with us for that too. And interactive, we spoke with you guys, the principals and the teachers, and all the people that work at Carney. We also spoke with the nurses. We presented to them, and they presented to us, and we shared all of our knowledge that way. And of course, we measured the existing building. For observational, we visited Carney Academy on March 3rd, and we saw the existing what doesn't work, what we should incorporate, and we photographed the current equipment and the setup, and then used all this information in our design.
So throughout our research process, Daniela and I were put in charge of looking at precedent studies specifically. So we took a lot of inspiration and information from the Medical University of South Carolina, as well as the Center for Autism and Developmental Disorders. That was the E4H project. A few of the other images on this page are off of other articles, off of Pinterest, things like that, just kind of where we gathered our inspiration from.
So for our concept, we decided to go with the 4 elements. The 4 natural elements, water, wind, earth, and fire, provide the balance of energy that we need in order to establish and maintain our psychological and physical well-being. So with this, children can be taught natural and holistic methods of regulating, like breathing, meditation, and spending time in nature, all tying back to the 4 basic elements. So water, we kind of separated them up into how they could be used to designate certain areas of the wing. So water could be circulation and wayfinding because of its tendency to flow, and it kind of would lead kids down the hallway and like where they needed to be. And then biophilic elements would be with the earth, so they could come back in contact with nature. There could be plants, greenery, and it would just kind of bring the outside in. For air, it would be calming and relaxing for regulation. So we were thinking kind of rev down spaces here, something where they can just like, watch the sky or just like be very calm and relax. And then for fire, it'd be energy and stimulating. So more of the rev up spaces so that they could be motivated to move and motivated to re-energize. And so with each of these, you see a little character as well. That would be used for wayfinding, and it kind of like it makes the concept a little bit more personable. So like a merman or like, oh, the dragon over there, you can kind of like make it more relatable to kids, and they can kind of connect this imagery and this cute character with like a concept or like something like that. So it'd be really interesting to incorporate that way.
So these are how we started with our programming. So a little bit about our adjacency matrix. So this is kind of where we just, after the first meeting that we went to, we really labeled out the different spaces that we wanted to, which you can see is highlighted. So we really just wanted to showcase every single space that we saw that we thought that would be needed. So some of them are reception, the reception office, elevator, meeting room, teacher's lounge, staff bathroom, boys bathroom, girls bathroom, sensory spaces, classroom 1, ABA classroom, physical therapy, occupational therapy, outdoor space, common space, and then therapy offices. And these are all on the first floor. And then for our second floor, which you can see is now highlighted in green too. So there's the common space upstairs, the elevator, ABA bath or ADA bathroom, classroom 2, speech therapy office, and office wing. And then you can see too as well, the black dots showcase what we want right next to each other or close by. The open white circles are secondary adjacencies, which we want nearby, but they don't have to be directly close to. And then the lines through it means they do not have to be nearby at all, but they are going to be on the same level. And then for our blocking diagrams, they have changed since we've seen them or since we first drafted them. So we do have we originally had 2 classrooms downstairs, but after the second meeting that we had, we definitely did a little bit more, we definitely looked more into our floor plans and moved some things around in accordance with what we wanted to give everyone at Carney Academy and make sure we're doing the best design possible. So I'll move to the next one.
So this is existing. We just took a few photos, and some of the problems we noted was lack of acoustic privacy. I mean, lack of privacy in general. It's kind of a big open space for the sensory. And you guys mentioned how it wasn't really working out. Kids would kind of run off down the hall, or there wasn't enough materials that you needed. And so we kind of took what was working in the space and we used that as well in our design. And so in the right, you can see the demo. And so although we are taking out the original walls for the 2 classrooms that you have there, we know that you would prefer not to lose those. So we did reallocate those spaces into somewhere else. So you wouldn't be losing the 2 classrooms, but it would just, the space makes more sense that way. So those are the walls we're taking down.
So for our floor plan as of today, up on the top right, I can't use my mouse, but up on the top right, this is your personal reception area. So ideally there would be a private drop-off outside. The space would be secured by a staff member if possible, and also a security in the sense of a proper locking system. So here you would have a little check-in desk for anybody dropping off a student, any therapist checking in, that kind of thing. The stairs to the upper level would be right off to the right of that door as well. To the left, you would have some alcove seating. Sorry, my dog is freaking out. You'd have some alcove seating, and below that, you would have your rev up and rev down spaces with a wash center in the middle of those 2 entries. So before the kids are entering the space, they kind of have a spot to take a moment, clean their hands, and then enter. The sensory rooms would be connected by a door for any cross-sensory needs. And these spaces would both include things like storage, crash pads, suspended equipment, slides, anything that would need, that could be see fit in those spaces. The rev up space is also connected to the outdoors. Back to our concept, bringing in that biophilic design and kind of having the availability to open up those sliders and bring the outside in. So outside there'd be things like interactive walls, slides, and anything the kids might need to interact with the environment or get their energy out. Down that first hallway, we have 2 of our therapy spaces side by side with an observation room in the center. That observation room would have one-way glass for any therapists, staff, or parents that might need to take a closer look at their child. In those spaces, again, things like interactive walls, interactive tables, suspended equipment. Both of these rooms would also have storage and a private office for any confidential conversations or information. In that hallway outside those therapy spaces, we did include some alcoves for anybody waiting to go into the therapy spaces or maybe taking a break from that classroom off to the left. So within this classroom, we did include sensory areas. So again, interactive walls, crash pads. Right now, this is kind of just a general layout of furniture, but giving you the idea that there would be desks in there for students and storage and things. Next door is our ABA classroom. Again, having those sensory moments within for anybody that might need to take a break from the busyness of the classroom. Each of those areas would have enough space for 2 people, either 2 students, a teacher and a student, whatever might be needed at the moment, with partitions for acoustical privacy and visual privacy. And that we will touch on later on as well. And then underneath that ABA classroom is your entrance into the existing stairwell, which would also connect outside to a greenhouse, which would provide kind of like an interactive learning experience for your students. So we were thinking something along the lines of gardening or something of that sort. Up in that main hallway, so that second red dot that you see, this kind of gives you the idea of where you would be coming in from the existing structure. So you would enter into a common space. We were envisioning this to be more of a space with alcoves, kind of like a small library feel. This could also just be a place for students to gather, maybe eat a snack, take a break from the classroom, whatever they might need to do. To the right is the teacher's lounge. So you would have a kitchenette, some couches, a TV, and a private ADA accessible bathroom. And next door is a small conference room for any meetings with parents coming in or things like that. And in the center, we have 2 multi-stall bathrooms with an elevator right next door. And then that would bring us upstairs. So upstairs, again, signified by the red dot, you would come up the stairwell or the elevator into a large common space. Again, this would be a space for students to kind of gather. This would be more of a flexible space for the community to, do whatever you might need to do up there. Again, students maybe taking a break, interacting with one another, that kind of thing. Off of that area, we have 2 larger storage rooms and an ADA bathroom down that hallway. And then within this first classroom, again, giving you that general idea of putting some desks in there, a teacher desk, and like a little reading nook, those sensory moments again. And then down the hallway, we have our speech therapy space, which just kind of includes some general seating, a little sensory area, and a private office connected to there for any private conversations and confidential information to be stored away. And below, this is what we're calling our office wing. We just wanted to give the staff more space to kind of, lock away any papers, have private conversations, meetings, whatever they might need to do there.
So starting into an in-depth look at the spaces, we focused on a few of them. This is the reception. So this is where you would come in if you were dropping off your kid, or this wouldn't be connected to like the main building. This would just be like you can see in the key plan in the upper right. And so in the middle, it would be an open to above space. So it kind of like it makes the space feel a little bit bigger. And there would ideally be some sort of focal light there, something interesting to look at. And then underneath, there would be the round seating, just so people can sit down. So the space over here, there are little alcoves on the walls. So it would be kind of an interesting thing to look at while also providing a more private space to sit, bringing the idea of the alcoves through. So the mural or interactive wall would also be something artistic to look at. The kids could maybe spend their time there, like interact with that wall while they're waiting. And there would be a difference in flooring that'll create a path to the reception desk so that it's easier to navigate, and so that if a child or with their parent walks through the door, they know exactly where to go first and then where to go second. So yeah.
So then for the sensory rooms, the rev up and rev down spaces are introduced directly off of the main entry, which you can see over here in our key plan. And the rooms will feature items such as suspended swings, some crash pads, some suspended swings. You can see here, we have crash pads over here in the rev down space, a slide in our rev up space and rev down space. We have interactive walls, which you can see are labeled around the school. And we have plenty of storage within the space for easy access for movable objects. They will be connected by a door for any cross, like Cassidy mentioned. And then the spaces will have plenty of acoustical privacy and adjustable lighting, especially in the rev down space. Since that space would be more of a darker zone, the lighting would definitely be adjustable for that one area. And then the rev up space will connect directly to the outdoors. Again, just bringing in our concept and also having more space in the summer for the kids to run around and have more room to play, especially since the rev up space, we're going to incorporate the fire aspect from our design. So that definitely brings in like the warm outdoors. And then that will be incorporated like in the summertime. And then you can see here, we have like a little water wall, bubble wall. We would incorporate the swings that I mentioned. There's peanut balls. And then this is just one of our precedent studies that we looked at that has a sliding glass wall. So that way there would be no worrisome. There's a lot of security. So that way when this space, the indoor sensory area, wants to be closed off, that can happen. And that way nobody would have to worry about any kids running outside without a teacher with them. And then also too, what was mentioned was the washing station. We do have that between each entrance of these both sensory rooms for sanitary reasons. And then on to the next.
So this is a closer look at the common space that is right when you enter from the existing building. So in this space, so this entire slide is circulation. So within this first space, we would be using kind of that water theme from our alcove. So kind of keeping the hallway flowing with that shape. So these shelves would ideally be custom, some book storage, backpack storage, whiteboards, tack boards, things like that. And behind them, there would be a little alcove for children, maybe sit down, have a snack, take a break from the classroom. And really this just serves as a touchdown space for staff and students to relax and collaborate, giving the community a little bit more flexibility with how students might need to use that space. And then to the right is another example of our circulation. So these are the alcoves between the classrooms and the therapy spaces. So giving children, therapists, staff, whoever might utilize the space, a little place to kind of sit, take a minute if they're waiting to go into a space or kind of need a second outside of a space. And then, yeah, I think that was it for these.
So for the ABA classroom, so I just need to move this. So it's located on the first level, which you can see down here on our key plan. This will include student offices divided by partitions to allow for maximum learning, which you can see here in our floor plan, and you can see it in our perspective as well. And then with attention to visual, acoustical, and physical boundaries, students can be separated and focus on their learning, which we definitely want to highlight and make very important because we know that what is there now really isn't working as well. So we definitely wanted to focus as this for one of our main areas. And then the ABA classroom will feature touchdown sensory moments as well, which was also mentioned, and you can see it over here in our floor plans. We have an interactive wall right at the entry, for some rev up needs. And then we also have a crash pad, which is pretty far away from the rev up area just for separation purposes, because they're for two different sensories. And then we also have partition, visual and acoustical divides between the stations. Also too, our vision is to add storage underneath these desks and also have whiteboards, because we know that that's used often within these spaces after our second meeting. So we definitely want to make sure that's incorporated within these desks. And then we added the adjustable stools for teacher and student height, because during our more interactive visit, we noticed that you guys do have that now with different chair heights, but we wanted to make sure that we incorporate that. So you can see that within our perspective. And then we do have, we wanted to just incorporate a touchdown area for the teachers as well within this space. It's not meant to like stay for the whole time, because you guys do have your own office, but it is somewhere where you guys can just touch down while you're in the classroom. And we know that would be like super helpful and important. So we definitely wanted to incorporate that. And then lighting would also be adjustable in this room as well. And then these partitions would also have, we would pay attention to acoustical properties. So we would make sure, we know the space can get very loud, especially considering more than one, obviously, student is in this space at a time. So we definitely want to make sure we're keeping noise in mind when thinking about the ABA classrooms.
And then this is that larger common space on the second level. So within the space, we kind of took inspiration from this image on the left, as well as on the bottom left-hand side of the page. So we'd be, again, bringing in those alcoves, kind of using our concept, the forms of water in circulation. You kind of get a sneak peek of the open to below and what that means for our space. And again, this is just a space for kids to relax, collaborate, learn with one another, learn separately, whatever they might need to do that day, and just an open setting that kind of promotes that community aspect and interaction among the student population. And that concludes our presentation. We are open to any comments or questions.
Thank you. As you can see, I'm driving and trying to do multiple things at the same time. I loved how you incorporated the outside part into the room. I thought that was a great idea. I love the garden idea. I thought that was great. I love that part. It's gonna be, it's great. I love every single project and every proposal. It reminds me of our library project where we picked a little bit of everything and kind of got that together.